Marty Supreme, day after Christmas Day.
What is up, everybody? Random Man here, bringing you my review for Marty Supreme in one take. Now, the plot of this sports dramedy follows Marty Mauser, a table tennis player who has a dream that no one respects as he goes through trials and tribulations in pursuit of greatness. Going into this movie, I was highly anticipating it. This is one of my most anticipated films of 2025, mainly for its main star in front of the camera and the guy at the helm behind the camera. This film is co-written, co-edited, produced, and directed by Josh Safdie, one of the two Safdie brothers, as him and his brother Benny have previously directed films that I have seen and reviewed, like Good Time from 2017 and Uncut Gems from 2019. This film, more specifically, being a film that I loved and became one of my favorite films from that year. Since this movie, though, both brothers have split up creatively, as both of them coincidentally have their solo feature directorial debuts both released this year, and both of them are also taking inspiration or being based on sports-related material as well. Benny Safdie gave us the Smashing Machine earlier this year, starring Dwayne Johnson as UFC fighter Mark Kerr, and now we have Josh Safdie giving us a film loosely based on the life of table tennis player Marty Reisman. I'm not sure how much was taken liberty with in terms of his life story, as The Smashing Machine played out more like a standard biopic, which I liked, but I saw that there was going to be a lot more juicy material with Marty Supreme, as well as seeing the main star of this movie, Timothée Chalamet, playing the titular character, which, starting out with the cast and their performances, we have Timothée Chalamet as Marty Mauser himself. This is a role that looked like it was tailor-made for him. He is also one of the producers of this movie, and you can tell there was a lot of passion going into him playing the character. In real life, he really marketed the crap out of this movie, and earlier this year, he won the SAG Award for Best Lead Actor in a Movie for his portrayal of Bob Dylan in last year's A Complete Unknown. And in his award speech, his acceptance speech there, I should say, he said that he really wants to be one of the greats. And some people were either really thrown off by that or saw that, he is someone who is striving to be great and really means it. A lot of those parallels apply to his character here in Marty himself, as he is somebody who really wants to be the best table tennis or ping pong player out there in the world. And with all of that, he also has to go through so much crap in order for him to, at a basic core, get enough money so that he can go to Tokyo, Japan to play again, after we see him initially play early on in London, and then he also goes to Paris. He goes to different places around the world as well, too, for various reasons. But then, yeah, with all of that, this is a very big and grand performance that Chalamet is giving. And as somebody who is so young, like having the resume that he has up until this point, today is his birthday, actually. Happy birthday, Timmy. Yes, today, December 27th, he turns 30. So he is so young still. And had he won the Oscar for A Complete Unknown earlier this year, he would have set the record in being the youngest Best Actor Oscar winner. Of course, he didn't win. Adrien Brody won for The Brutalist, and coincidentally there too, he still holds the record of being the youngest Best Actor Oscar winner at 29 when he won for The Pianist over 2 decades ago. But in any sense, I do think that Chalamet is a real threat to win the Oscar here. He is my choice to win Best Actor at the Oscars. The performance that he's giving here, and I'm spending so much time talking about his performance because he is really the movie at its core. He is someone who, much in line with Safdie's other movies, plays somebody who is pretty unlikable at his core, deep down in his own root soul. But compared to some of the other protagonists or main characters in Safdie's movies, at least the ones that he did with his brother in Good Time and Uncut Gems, there's a certain likability and charisma to him, and that you want to see him succeed in some way, even though so much is being thrown at him. And there's a lot getting in his way for him to want to even try to be one of the greats. But I think that is what Chalamet exemplifies, and that he is chasing ambition. And he really champions it as well with this performance, with him also apparently going to great lengths in playing this character, like wearing contact lenses that purposely made him blind so that he can wear prescription lenses so that he can play like a ping pong player who's nearsighted or whatever. I mean, that's a pretty extra thing to do when it's like, okay, you don't need to do that, but the commitment is really there. It is huge in seeing that he gives a larger than life performance. This is one of my favorite film performances of the year. This is easily my favorite film performance of Chalamet's career thus far, and I really think that he should win the Oscar. This has a supporting cast as well. The film has a supporting cast that help Chalamet in aiding him on his journey to be someone that, whether they help him or not completely, that is all up in the air as well, too. Odessa Azion plays the childhood friend and married lover to Marty here, and I thought that she was outstanding as well. She gets a lot more to do in the movie as it goes into probably, I would say, its second act, there's a big bombshell that is dropped with her character as well, too, that increases all the tension and just all around stress that Marty is going through. Another one of the lovers here of Marty is played by Gwyneth Paltrow. She plays an aging actress who used to be a silent film star. This movie takes place in 1952, so it's now a couple decades later, and she has faded, and she is attempting to do a comeback on stage. And I thought she gave a great performance as well, too. It's been a long time since we've seen her in a movie, but seeing her back here, yeah, she shows a lot of class. She is a class act, as I would say, with someone of the degree and caliber that she has. Kevin O'Leary plays the husband of Paltrow's character. And yeah, Kevin O'Leary, he is known as Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank. I have never seen that reality TV series. I just know that that is his nickname on there, but I didn't know he was an actor. But seeing him in this role, not just married to Paltrow's character, but also as a powerful businessman who Marty is trying to, get in the good graces of, but the businessman, as evil as he is in many ways, is a big obstacle in so many other senses. I thought he was a natural here in playing somebody who really, oh my God, he's really devious, but he has a lot of power over Marty in many instances because of the money and everything else here too. Just feeling like someone that is of this archetype that I thought really loomed in large presences over the film. Among the other presences that are here, there are so many other characters, or actors I should say, that are in here as well too. April Ferreira plays a mysterious dude who is kind of scary as well with this big dog, and the dog becomes a big plot line in the movie too. Tyler the Creator, or Tyler Arconma, as he's known as here. He is credited by his government name. He plays a friend to Marty and a taxi driver. Also a ping pong player himself too. With the supporting role that he has, I thought he did well for what he had to do. I'd never seen him act as well, aside from, a voice role on Regular Show, and then also he was in a Jackass Forever a few years ago. But in any sense, yeah, I am a fan of his music, and I thought that he did well with his material here. And there's so many other characters, like personalities from New York that pop up here as well, that there are too many to name, but for now, the performances here. I spent so much time talking about the performances, especially Timothée Chalamet's performance. He is the reason to see this movie on top of the other elements that have this movie come together. Like I said, Josh Safdie co-wrote this film. He co-wrote it with Ronald Bronstein, who also co-edited the film with him. And on paper, this film feels very similar and more in line with what Safdie did with his brother in their previous features together, in that it's about somebody who is running around trying to get something. And it's either motivated by the drive to get what they want, or just achieving something that, they feel fulfilled by. You could say that with Robert Pattinson's character with Good Time, Adam Sandler's character with Uncut Gems, and a lot of similar attributes here with Timothée Chalamet here in Marty Supreme. Because we see that he begins the movie as a shoe salesman in his uncle's shoe store, and you see that he wants to get out and he wants to go ahead and fly all over the world to go and play ping pong and have that sport continue to grow, and him coming from America, and then specifically him going up against the champion from Japan. That's a big obstacle on his end as well. So I think that you see what goes on between his personal life, his family life. There's also his mom, played by Fran Drescher. Yes, the nanny herself. I thought she was really good for her small role too. And then him on the professional side, or what he deems to be his own side professionally to be fulfilled by in being a table tennis player. So much going into that. And you see so much intensity and stress that go along with him, and all of the various situations that he gets into that help make this movie move at a rate. And me mentioning how these guys, Safdie and Bronstein, edited and cut together this movie, I mean, it moves at a pace that feels like it is always going. And even in some more downtime or slower moments, there are moments that we get to see revealed with Marty as a character, or even other characters, and seeing what they're trying to do. And I think that helps the movie become something that always keeps up its tone and feel. And it runs for about 2.5 hours, which does seem long at first glance. But I think that with it, you get to be in an experience that is feeling like you're having just a panic attack, or like you're feeling like you're having your blood pressure be raised up a bunch of notches. And that a movie about somebody who is an aspiring table tennis player, on paper also, going back into the writing, doesn't seem like it has a lot of interest with it, unless you already know this director's previous work that he did with his brother. But now going solo, and you see what he's doing in collaboration with Ronald Bronstein and others here on a technical element, that is what helps make this movie quite an experience, and one of the ones of 2025 that are the most memorable. On a scale with the technical elements here, a lot of previous collaborators from the Safdies do come back here, such as cinematographer Darius Kanji. The original score by Daniel Lopatin is very electronic and fits what the movie's going for in having a distinct style. Despite taking place in 1952, it feels like, it keeps up the pace of whatever's going. The movie does open with the song Forever Young by Alphaville. Forever young, I wanna be forever young. And it's also juxtaposed with the opening title sequence that is very specific and interesting, and eventually us seeing the title of this movie on a ping pong ball. And there's a whole side element in that Marty wants to play with orange ping pong balls because they are easier to follow than the white ones that everyone else plays with, or whatever. And then it just keeps going. The movie really gets started and goes from there. And how all those elements come together. The movie does feel very grainy and grimy with how it is shot with the cinematography. It feels dark. It does feel like it has texture and just all around tangibility, in that this is a real lived in and breathed in world. Again, with how the movie is cut together and paced, the production design. I mean, the movie is a period piece technically, and it looks like it is accurate to the time, mostly taking place in New York City as Marty is trying to run around and get money to go ahead and participate in ping pong again in Tokyo, Japan. And then the ping pong sequences themselves here, I thought they were really well executed. You can tell that Chalamet was doing a lot of the playing himself, but then also there were added elements that enhanced what we were watching with those scenes and experiences. And again, a movie about ping pong on paper doesn't seem like it's going to be that interesting, but on top of the whole excruciating circumstances that the main character is going through, it keeps going, and how they're staged and how they are choreographed, everything together here too, I thought was fantastically put together. And then you even have how this movie is a dramedy, a sports dramedy, the movie is darkly funny in many instances. I mean, my audience was howling with laughter at certain moments, as was I, getting a bunch of chuckles and genuine laughs because of the situation that Marty puts himself into, or just everything else with the dialogue. And, this is a very foul-mouthed movie, as fitting in line with Safdie and his other movies prior to this one. And what we are seeing is just all around chaos in many, many moments here that I think that when it comes down to it, by the time it gets to the end, without giving anything away, the movie does end in a satisfying way. I think it ends in a satisfying way. And when we get to see the final shot or the final moment of this movie and the way it holds, again, no spoilers, but the way it holds, and then we hear a song specifically. Literally, the opening line kind of sums up what is being felt in that moment. And I was like, yes, like that is the way to end the film, just to have it all come together in that way. And you can also interpret what you will of what ends up in the fate of a lot of these characters here too. And I think that the journey getting there mostly worked out, I would say. And I say mostly worked out in a high sense because I did think the movie was a little long at 2.5 hours. Not that it dragged much or in too many moments, but I think that it could have been tightened up here and there because sometimes, kind of similar to what Safdie did previously with his brother in some of the moments of like high stress or anything like that happening, or it was going through the same motions that didn't necessarily move the plot along, but also were there, of course, like for pure shock value. And trust me, the movie does have its fair share of shocking moments that are just like, whoa, or they come out of nowhere and stuff. I mean, that was my main thing with Good Time from 2017. I wasn't a big fan of that movie because I thought that felt mostly aimless and how that was directed. But Uncut Gems, I thought, was much, much better, and I was more engaged by that one. And then here, what Safdie does behind the camera in terms of directing, I think that he directs the crap out of this movie, of course, but I think in a lot of ways, he directed this film that made me feel like I was gravitating it more favorably than I would say Uncut Gems. In many ways, I like this a lot more than Uncut Gems. And I have to see both of these movies again, or at least see Marty Supreme again to really get a full consensus on it. But with all of it coming together, I think that easily, from how much I have been praising this movie overall, this is one of my favorite movies of 2025. I think that between the performances, the writing, the directing, the editing, and other technical elements like the score, the cinematography, the production design, everything together, this really is one of the defining movies of the year, and this is going to be the defining film of Timothée Chalamet's career if he indeed does go for that Oscar gold, and I think he really does stand a big chance to get that. And so far in awards season, I mean, he's getting nominated everywhere. This film is deemed a comedy at the Golden Globes. It is nominated for Best Motion Picture Comedy or Musical, Best Screenplay, and of course, Best Actor, Motion Picture Comedy or Musical for Chalamet. And with the other Safdie, Benny Safdie, his film The Smashing Machine did get into 2 acting categories for Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt at the Golden Globes. I don't see them getting much further than that, but Chalamet here really is in it to take it and in it to win it, just like Marty is across this film together. And yeah, with all that being said, I have to say that, this is probably a great way for me to end 2025 in film, as I would say that this is going to be my last review of the year before I end up making my annual top 10 favorite movies of the year video, and stay tuned for that. You'll know obviously that this is going to be in my top 10, but where exactly? You're going to have to tune in to find out. That video will be coming out in the next couple of days before 2025 is over. And for now though, as I have said and made clear multiple times, I loved Marty Supreme. This is one of my favorite films of 2025. I highly recommend it. With all of that being said, my final verdict for Marty Supreme is 4.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Marty Supreme. Social media links in the description. Subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.